According to Dee. Today, I have the pleasure of my sisters joining me while we talk about homeschooling and its ups and downs. We have called this the Homeschooling Chronicles. Hey, sisters.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
What's up? What's up?
What's up?
What's
What's
up?
up? Yes, we went into our lockdown, and as parents, we were told your children are not coming to school. What was your initial reaction when you were told your children are not attending school? Who wants to take that one first? See something.
Are we
My
in
first
school?
reaction
Why
was,
are you raising your hand up? Are we in school?
leave me alone.
What's
Isn't
that?
that what
Leave me
they do?
alone. My first reaction was that, wow, how am I going to walk? That's the first reaction. How am I going to go to work?
So was that due to like childcare issues or?
Yeah, everything. Because then we used to like share the responsibility. That's myself and my sister. Sometimes I work like 4 days a week and she takes the kids. Then I come back, she goes to work, then I take the kids. But if they're at home all day, all day, how are we gonna do it? That was my
uh,
first that was my first thought. That how are we gonna do it?
How are you going to? So it's that whole. How am I going to work as well as look after my children when
Children.
there is no school? There is no dropping them off at 8:30 to pick them up at 3:30. Okay.
Yeah.
Chinye, what was your first reaction when we were told, hey, no school?
You know what? It was funny because it was one of those things that you thought it's not going to last for long. It's just a short term thing. Although you did think, what in the world am I going to do now? But it's funny. I can't even remember when the
Mm,
whole thing started. The only thing I do remember is when I was leaving the house, and then my manager rang me and said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm leaving to come into work." And then he said, "Don't bother coming in."
yeah,
I think I stopped going into the office first before they stopped going to school. So I was
yeah.
working from home, they went into school. And then I think the week later, they then started staying at home. But I just thought it was short term.
Because it all happened in small stages, didn't it? It was that whole
Mm.
they sort of told people to work from home, but children were still going into school. So bit by bit is when they shut things down. So
Mm.
Ngozi, how was it for you? The
Um,
initial lockdown.
well, my toddler goes to nursery, so he carried on going to nursery actually for a while, whilst they were at home. It was until when it was a complete shutdown
Yeah.
that everybody was home. But I think in the beginning, I was quite relieved that we were all home. I'm not gonna lie. I
Why
was
was
relieved
that?
that,
Was it the whole safety, keeping my family together?
yep. So I was quite relieved we were home. Yes, it was a surreal situation. It was a situation that I thought would never happened. If they said everything was going to be on shutdown and no one's going to go to work, no one's going to go to school, I would have said, nah, never in a million years. I could even
Mm,
bet money on it. I'd be like, nah, they're not going to let that happen. What they're going to be
yeah.
looking, nah, I could when we're not in Nigeria. It
We,
could never happen.
we would say we're in London. It can never happen
Yeah,
in London. This is that.
Mm-hmm.
It can't happen.
exactly.
Dion, what were you
Exactly.
doing when we heard lockdown? What was it that you were doing as soon as you heard things is just getting shut down?
You know what? I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but I remember I don't think I was that shocked by it because I remember a few days before them announcing the lockdown, there'd been a lot of videos and talks and stuff going around about
Mm,
how we were going to get locked down and there was going to be, police and military on the streets and people
Yeah.
going nowhere. And I remember circling stuff about how lockdown was coming in like my groups of friends on WhatsApps, and they were like, "No, that's not gonna happen." But I tell you what, I have a mum. I swear she's got insight. I don't know. She knows me. And for weeks, she's been saying to me, "Dion, you better get ready. They're gonna shut the school.
yeah.
They're gonna shut
So
everything
get ready
down."
and buy toilet roll.
The toilet
Buy
roll.
toilet
She came to
roll.
buy toilet roll.
No, but I didn't
That
really
was the
mind. I
time.
think my mum was dropping stuff to my house, getting ready already. I don't know how she knew, but she knew. So in my mind, I think I knew it was coming. But then
Yeah.
once it did happen, I think my panic was, okay, what am I gonna do? Because I work 5 days a week and I had a baby. My baby wasn't even one yet, and I was like, it will be a nightmare. But then I remember it was in stages. So my little one was still going nursery for a while until then they shut down. So I think gradually your mindset kind of adapted, but it was
Yeah.
Yeah.
difficult, I think, at first to think, okay, what's going to happen when we are all home because I still have to work.
Yeah. And Shewa, so when we went into that first, hello, is Zoom working at Shewa? Shewa. Shewa. Okay.
If we all shout, will she hear us?
Let's try.
We all shout
3,
together.
2, 1.
Shewa!
Shewa.
We've lost them.
There is no chance there for now. We're going to have to come back to her. Okay, so as this is called the Homeschool Chronicles, we've all spoken about, well, for me, it was, I saw it come in bit by bit. In schools, we were even preparing for it. And once it hit, there was nothing else you could do but to get on with it. But what I was going to ask was, do you think the schools were prepared for when we went into that initial lockdown? I can see heads.
No, I
Well,
don't
I
think
say
so.
that
Oh.
because I have one in grammar, one in comprehensive, and one in nursery. Nursery, write that off. It's either you go to nursery or you stay at home. That's, you know, but the difference between the grammar and the comprehensive, the grammar school has been consistent. So right from last year, she has had live lessons up till today.
Okay.
So, and her live lessons has not been, it's been according to the way her timetable was, as though she was in school. So she's
They
following her
follow the
timetable.
curriculum
In
and
fact,
everything.
if she doesn't even get onto registration at 8:40 in the morning, I get a phone call. That bad.
Wow.
You
And that
know,
was from the first lockdown.
from the first lockdown, they
Hey,
weren't messing about.
I give them a round of applause.
They weren't
I
messing
do.
about at all. But unlike my son's state school, they were doing blended learning. So they would just give us a lot of work to do. Well, at first, there wasn't a lot of work coming through. Then eventually they started giving us a lot of work to do. And then they weren't really expecting the work completed and returned back. But of course, as the Niger in me, as the Niger in me, I just made sure that every piece of work that was given to him, he submitted it.
Yeah.
Submitted it. In a way, I think I kind of started thinking about how are teachers going to assess children? How are they going to know? If you don't show your piece of work, how are they going to know
what you're doing and
what
where
you've
you're
been able to do and what you're not doing? And the reward was there for him because when they resumed back in September or whenever they went back, was it after the summer? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was September.
In September. When they went back, he had a whole load of house points for all the work he submitted.
all the work he's been doing.
That worked in his paper. So,
Yeah. It seems we have Shewa back. We've been calling your name. Shewa, are you here?
I was here. I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me.
Okay, we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Shewa, so when schools, we're talking back in March because we've had quite a few lockdowns. When schools initially closed, do you think the young princesses school coped from the beginning?
They didn't know what to do at first because we didn't close with everyone at the same time. It took us like a couple of days before they decided to go. Some schools were already closed before their school went off. At first, I was a bit worried. I was like, what am I going to do with Esme? Esme is not the easiest person to cope with at home. No.
You're laughing. Okay, share with us one of the moments that you're using for you to start laughing. Give us a moment that made you feel, oh my goodness.
I'm bothered about work. It's okay, do some work. She will only maybe concentrate for like 10 minutes and then she says she's done. Then you have to end up shouting every day. And then she'll turn around to you and be like, she prefers going to school. She even did that recently as they're saying that she wants to go back to school. So
I think all the children were like that. All the children, I think the younger ones were begging to go back to school. Dionne, what about, because you've got a son that's about the same age as Esme.
Yeah, they're the same age. So yeah, he's 6. It's really interesting because I actually thought I think during the first lockdown, he wasn't too bad. And I really expected him to have more of a meltdown because you guys know him. He's very sociable and he likes to chat and play. But in the first lockdown, he wasn't too bad. And he wasn't really begging to go back to school. He kind of liked being at home.
Yeah.
It was stressful because he doesn't sit down. All he does is run around, up and down, jump in the air, turning himself upside down, then a ninja move in the air. And all day, all I'm doing
it's
is...
all part of the PE. That's his PE lesson. Yeah. He's got 24 hours PE.
He's got 24-hour PE all day. He's energetic all the time. So I had to... The first lockdown, I think I was a lot more structured actually than I have been this time. We would get up and we would do... Was it Joe who used to be on every day?
Joe Wicks, yes.
We'd make him do Joe Wicks. Then we'd do a piece of work, then he'd have a break, then we'd do some type of exercise kind of in the afternoon, even if I found like some Avengers exercise, even if we couldn't always get out, We would
Yeah.
do some Avengers exercise stuff on the TV together. Then I'd set him another piece of work, and I was quite structured, I think, because it went on for quite a while. And at that point as well, we weren't getting that much work from the school. I think the primary schools were a bit more behind in terms of getting the online learning stuff up and running and doing that.
Yeah.
So you pretty much had, well, in my circumstance, you pretty much had to kind of make it work. You kind of left for a while before they kind of got up to speed.
Because I remember having a conversation with Chinye, and we were talking about structure, and I was saying to her how I'd given Sarai a timetable because it was waking up like a normal school day. She's laughing. So she then thought, oh, we're going to have structure in the house, because the schools weren't given much. So you had to enforce your own structure to the school day and sort of say to your children, as much as it's at secondary level, they had some work set for the time that they were supposed to have those lessons. It was, I put my hand up, it was insufficient. Chinye, what do you have to say about that?
What was funny about that was that I sat with Giselle and we said, we'll do this timetable together. Figured out what time she'll do what, based it on the same timetable as her school lessons. Day one, actually, funny enough, the night before the week when the whole school home learning started, we had time, so everybody had a timetable. You know, they had things they had to, the school for the primary school didn't really have much for the kids. That was done like on a daily basis, whatever work they could send. But what happened was a parent decided to form a group, like a parent chat group thing, and then she devised the timetable.
So this is parents creating their own timetable.
Primary school, but this was AJ's one. As the weeks went by, we found out certain parents had certain skills. So she could speak French, so she put French in the timetable. So they were learning French half an hour a week. We found out one parent's good at, she was an art teacher. So she was doing art with them once a week. Then one parent decided to do history. And then on top of that, they had maths, English. So she created this timetable so that AJ was he was sorted.
Can I just clarify? These are the parents sorting it out, not the teachers, not the school. These are the parents.
The school were not prepared at all. The primary school, they were not prepared at all for this. So they'd send the kids maybe like the spellings to do, and then they had my maths, they could do it online, but nothing else other than that.
Yeah.
But this parent group, and what was good about the parent group, you could dip in and out. So you didn't have to do everything on the timetable. Depending on what your child felt like, you could just do maths in the morning, do whatever in the afternoon, do PE. And then they also structured sessions with smaller groups of children, so they could just chat to each other on Zoom.
So social groups.
Yes, that worked right up until summer. Giselle, on the other hand, was the same as sisters, where they had, with Jacobs, where they had the blended learning. So they just send them all the work. Then she just had to do it. And all I kept saying, Giselle, have you done your work? Yeah, that was it. Have you done your work? Yeah. Izzy, on the other hand, Izzy didn't have any work, but I was grateful because she has a tutor. So the work that the tutor was sending her was what she concentrated on.
Yeah.
But this time round, completely different.
We'll come back to this time round.
Okay.
Oh yeah. See something. How was it with Farah?
Oh, Farah's one, I was lucky because I live in Manchester and I work in London. So I was lucky that my sister was like, come on, bring Farah to my house. She can spend the lockdown in my house. So she went down to sisters. So she was at sisters for was it about 6 months?
She loved it.
Just to clarify, sister is Ngozi and Litla is Chinye. And if you need the differentiation between the two, we couldn't call them both sister. And this is just the respect for our older sisters. So we had to change the little sister to Litla and then the older sister to sister.
I don't know how I got stuck with that. You know, some people think it's Hitler. They keep saying.
So I was lucky because number one, I was scared that because I'm one of the frontliners. So I was scared that what if I go to work and I bring it home to my little girl? So I was like, okay, she being our sisters is very good for me because I know they are not frontliners and they are home. So she's safer there than she been with me here where I am in London. So that was one thing. And in terms of the school, the things they do or whatever, they were not prepared really.
Yeah, but they posted some stuff. They not posted. They posted some work. So they posted some work through the post.
but it wasn't enough because my
Mm.
little girl, she is very eager to learn. So it's kind of like you give it to her, something that she's meant to do for a week, she does it in a day.
Mhm.
Yeah. They
So
got
she
through
had
the work
to,
quickly. They got through the work
yeah.
quickly.
But she
I
was
have to
still
say,
there because she was lucky. She had them. She had Jessica with her, and
yeah,
she had Jacob. So it was kind of like she was trying to like. Sometimes she would tell me, "I'm reading what I'm doing, what Jessica is doing." I said, "No, no, no, that's not your age. You can't do
yeah.
that yet. You have to wait." And she'll say, "Okay, let me do what Jacob is doing." She was
But that
kind
would
of
have been good for her. That would have been really good for her. So I'm presuming sister had a really structured
yeah,
timetable,
We
yeah,
routine
did.
in how.
We
yeah.
did. They
She
had
did,
to
she
get
did.
up, shower, get ready, do some
Make
work.
breakfast, do
Well, we
work.
started with the best intentions. So don't ask me later and down the line what happened. We started with the best intentions, but I think, oh, we soon got tired. I'm not a
Yeah,
teacher, and I'm not even going to say I know how to teach, number one.
yeah.
So for me, it became frustrating after a
Mm.
while. And I
See,
was
I think,
quite glad that summer came along.
Oh, I tell you, I know you said we'll come back to now, and I think that's the difference. The weather was a huge, huge
yeah,
difference as well.
Yeah.
And you touched on something there where you said you're not a teacher, and I remember this
Nope.
really because all the parents were running around like the kids have got to learn, they've got to do this, and then it got to like week 3 or week 4, and we're like,
don't kill yourself.
I'm not a teacher.
The
Yeah.
whole country was going through the same thing. Me as a teacher, I would say to all of you, don't kill yourselves. As long as the children are still reading their books, there was no falling behind. As long as
Yeah,
they
but
continue doing something.
the panic I have now, or maybe I shouldn't talk about now because you said we're coming to now.
We're coming to now.
The panic I have now is that the gap is much, especially for children that have just started secondary school are in like
Yeah,
year 8.
I agree.
but they will all be in the same. The thing is, all of them in that year will all be, well, they will all be in the same boat.
I hear that, Litla, but for me we're just looking at children within this country, but the way we are raised is we're competing against people around the world. We're only looking about the children and the way the education system has worked for them within the UK. But what about these other? Look at China. The learning is still going in. They're in competition with these other children. So as much as, and I say it because I remember in the summer, I had Sarai. Sarai is one of the ones that missed out on year 7. She was doing Oak Academy all through the summer. And then there was also that Invicta thing that sister had us sign up all through the summer. That when she
That helped
started year
us a
8,
lot in the
they were
summer.
actually saying that Sarai's actually doing really well. They were shocked because a lot of the children were struggling, but she was doing really well because we kept the learning going. And I don't know, for me, when I look back to lockdown though, it's the funny stories. Like, okay, all of you put your hand up. Which one of you became a baker?
Became a what?
A baker. Baker. You can bake cake.
I didn't bake. My daughter did.
Yeah, my
So
daughter
she
did
learned,
as well.
they learned skills. I'm sure both of them are able to, and which is good because they wouldn't really have had the time to have done that if we didn't have the lockdown.
Yeah.
And then you'd have had family time. I know it was on weekends, but our family Zoom.
Quiz.
Our quiz.
Yeah.
Quiz was good.
Yes, we all used to look forward to those on the weekend. I remember my art lesson.
Yeah.
My art lesson with the kids.
That was good.
Yeah, they enjoyed that.
That was really, really good. So I'm going to ask, let me see. Chinye, what was your funniest moment with the first lockdown?
Funniest. Oh my God. Right. Trying to figure out where I'm going to work because obviously my house is not an office. So you work downstairs, you work upstairs, you sit on the chair, you sit on the dining table, wherever you find, you work. So I think I worked in the corridor, then I'm on a meeting, then Alistair comes out of the bedroom, Giselle walks past in her dressing gown. And I thought, oh no, this isn't working, let me move elsewhere. So I moved downstairs to the living room, but where I was sat, the door, you could see anyone going up the stairs. And I was in a meeting and all I could see was people going, who's that? Like, and me laughing. I'm thinking, what's so funny? Your son's just gone up the stairs naked. Hence why, over time, I've learned that I'm nothing behind me. No one can walk behind me.
Well, you know what? We've all seen that video. I think it's an American video where the teacher's delivering the lesson. There's one asleep. There's a child fully asleep for the lesson. Then the other one, the boy's like, the mum's asking, he's like, yeah, mum.
He's telling the mum. It's
Showing everyone.
Or did you see the one of when they were showing the difference between primary school students and secondary school students?
That one was
And,
funny.
like with the Zoom call, and the teacher for the primary school had all the children. The cameras were going, Miss, can I do this? Miss, look at this. And then the secondary school students, all you could see was black screen, initials, because they don't want to switch on
They
the
don't want to show
cameras.
their faces.
Nope.
Anyone there? Anyone?
Yeah.
No, but I've seen, there was one I saw where a mum initially started homeschool, ready with the child, register, everything. But as time went on, she took over. So the child was never up in time. She was doing the child's work, everything like that. She was just like, you know what, forget it. You do what you want to do. Don't worry, I'll sort out this homeschool. I've got this. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, there was another woman that did a video. Did you see? Who sent it? Or did I send it? The woman that was in her pajamas.
In the pajamas, yeah.
Was logging on for her daughter and then telling them, I'm sorry, she's coming. She's on her way. She's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, there was so many.
There was so many, because people have got so many stories to tell in regards to the first lockdown. But I'm going to ask another question, because I've asked Chinye, well, actually, let's ask, where is Sewa?
He's there. Just ask and see if she answers.
Sewa,
This is
what
what
was your...
happened. You asked, where's that child? The child's there.
Oh no, me, and put your camera on. I must see your face. I can't talk to a blank screen. Sewa, what's your funniest moment throughout this lockdown? Are you there? No. Silence. This is what I deal with. Silence. No. Can you answer?
No.
If you don't answer the next 20 seconds, I'm going to get the school office to call your mum.
Or the kids start to chat in the private chat. They start
chatting. I'm gonna block the chat. I'm gonna switch it off. Cheryl, what was your funniest moment?
I think at first I did.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect example.
She did
and she's still talking.
Shall I have a cracked internet in Manchester? Oh God.
Do you remember the stories about the 5G? About how there's no such thing as coronavirus. It's 5G.
I heard that.
What?
I remember that.
There might be an element of truth to that, because we've seen those towers. They weren't there before.
They weren't. They're introducing two things at the same time.
They're there, but they're there now. So I don't know, but I guess
She's
I can
still
say
talking.
She's still there.
Did I send you the thing about the guy that was talking about COVID? I changed all the letters. That when like COVID, C is 3, A, B, C. That's the third 1, 2, 3. It changed it, and it all from 666.
Oh God!
Oh, here we go.
Please, I beg.
I will send you over to you. I will send it to you guys. Don't worry.
Oh Lord! So many conspiracy theories.
Sister, did you have a funny moment that you want to share with us?
I can't remember. Do you know how long that is? March last year. Can I even remember yesterday?
I can tell you mine.
Let's hear
mine
yours.
Was going shopping and seeing people wearing everything, putting the shield on, wearing the gloves. That was my funniest.
Or when we go for a walk and everybody's like, kind of move away. Don't touch me.
Yeah, they still do. They will always be doing that. I think that's going to be around for a very long time. The whole, this is my space, that's your space.
You know what this thing, the first lockdown taught me? It really made me appreciate the teachers, because I knew that I can never be a teacher, because
never.
Are we all nodding?
She can never be a teacher.
Just not.
Never. That's one job I can never, ever
be a teacher.
You have to have patience.
You do have to. It's another level of patience, because I'm dealing with what? 3. They're dealing with like 30 in the class.
Yeah.
Different,
what you have to think about is that
different issues.
with the 3 you're dealing
I don't know
with,
how they even manage to listen.
I take the praise. How do we listen? We mute them. There's a button you can mute. Are you still talking? I mute you. Hey. No, but with teaching, it's patience, even in the classroom. It's the way you speak to the children. And they have this thing where they know whether it's the teacher or another adult. And I've seen it with the children. So even when we have parent consultation, the way they sort of gather themselves when it's the teacher compared to when they're with the parents, it's just different.
You know, one thing I did see in the school, I'm sitting there going, AJ, be quiet, be quiet.
The
Then his
teacher says it
comes in.
once.
Yeah, and everyone's quiet.
Yeah.
No.
And there's no sound.
And you're like,
We tried it
hello.
at home.
Oh no,
Tried
but
it at
we're a
home.
no clapping school. We actually don't believe in the clapping. We're a no clapping school. I literally will just say quiet. And if you're not quiet, you deal with the consequence.
You see?
But I don't know. I think the first home learning, the first lockdown had people appreciate teachers to an extent. But at the same time, it was frustrating because as parents, we had to deal with the normal runnings of the home. We couldn't really go out like we normally do, couldn't socialize. And then we had to work from home. And at the same time, we needed to ensure our children were being educated because we're normally at ease to know that they're at school learning. So I'm going to say, what was the most frustrating thing when it came to the first lockdown? What was the most frustrating? For me, it was, as much as it was the blended learning, I didn't feel it was sufficient enough. I had Soraya, she's finished, she's sitting there, she's put on the TV that we haven't still go and find another book to read. It was never enough. It was always, I had to top it up, which was fair enough because I knew the teachers were dealing with the same thing. It would take time to organize, but it was still frustrating because I have my class to organize and I was teaching year 6 at that point. So year 6 to organize, as well as my daughter to organize, as well as my household to organize. Does anybody want to jump in on that? What was the most frustrating thing for them?
I just kept feeling like between the hours of 9 and 3:30, I'd catch them watching TV and I'm like, normally between 9 and 3:30, there's no TV to be watching. Why have you got the TV on? Oh, but we're at home. Yeah, but you're supposed to be at school. I can send you to school. You remember I'm a key worker. That was the favorite phrase of mine in the house. I can send you to school anytime from now because I'm a key worker. And Giselle will be calling my bluff. Yeah, really? I know you don't want me out there. It was frustrating because you're really wanting them to almost mimic what they do at school at home. And it's a long time. Even now, to realize actually they're at home. And home for them, it's like for majority of the kids, home is their safe haven. It's not school, it's completely different. It took us a while. I think we needed the summer holidays to kind of calm down.
And it was nice that things opened back up again and school started again in September. And then as Christmas was approaching, because we were hearing these odd little things like one child's got it and your child has been part of that circle of the children have caught it, they're going to go to home. So there was the blended learning where they was teaching in school and could still sort of pass the work on to the children at home. But then just before Christmas, we then had it wasn't a lockdown, but we knew it was going to happen for after Christmas.
So that was when we went into tears.
We went into tears. And then after Christmas, when we were all thinking, we may be going back to school. Tier 4, they said no, national lockdown. Now, we were all ready for it. I can't lie, I don't know how you felt, but I feel that everybody was ready for the lockdown.
More prepared this time round.
But it was that whole, what are the schools going to do? So we were ready for it. We've got our kids in place. We knew what we were doing with them, but we just weren't just waiting to see what the schools were going to do. Now, I'm going to throw this on Ngozi. How did you think, because you've got 3 different tiers, you've got nursery, secondary that's not a grammar, and then you've got a child in grammar. How did you feel the schools coped with this lockdown that we're currently in? Or how do you think they're coping with it?
So the nursery didn't close and they're still not closed. It was my choice because he was going to nursery up until they told us that somebody within his bubble was tested positive and then he had to go into isolation. So when he finished the isolation period, I just called the nursery and said, nah, he's not coming back until, I don't know when. Initially, I thought until after Christmas.
Yeah.
And then Christmas came and then went into national lockdown. They called me again and I said, look, no, let's see what happens with the vaccination. And then also the fact that all the other kids were at home, it didn't make sense for just him alone to be going out there and all of us are at home, you know, and it's not about him not being safe, it's about him bringing it back home to the rest of us at home. So he's been at home since. The one thing that we've noticed with him is we've not really caught up with, you know, teaching him letters, numbers, phonics and things like that. We've only just started doing that now.
So are the nursery providing any form of home learning or anything like that?
Nah.
Not
It
really.
wasn't, nah, not really. And then my Jacob's secondary school, they've definitely stepped up their game. They're now doing live lessons, although it's still not on the same level like Jessica's. It's only 2 live lessons per day, whereas Jessica's every single lesson is a live lesson.
Is live, yeah.
Logging on, doing the lesson, logging off, going back on again, lesson again, you know, and there was a difference between the two, but I'm still grateful that at least he's getting 2 live lessons per day, unlike before. But like I was saying before, my fear now is that he started secondary school, year 7, and then we went on lockdown, what, in term 3, you know, and then for the rest of year 7, term 3, and then for the rest of year 7, nothing. He was just at home. And then now he's in year 8. Well,
we haven't really had much of a secondary school
because him and Soraya are in the same boat, aren't they? Yeah.
And then year 8 now, he started. We're now on a lockdown, what, in term 2?
And next year they'll be choosing their GCSEs. So it's like,
But then you could say the same for IJ, because IJ's, well, he only just started reception, didn't have much of, because he's what year is he in now?
He's year 1 now, yeah. So he
didn't have much of reception, much of year.
Won't that be the same as Esme as well? Not much of reception going into year 1. If she even awake.
Let's just assume she's there. She's
there, but her instinct is gone.
I do feel sorry for the children. I just feel like, it's just it's a very big disruption. And in terms of IJ's school where he is, I think they took a while to kind of get it together. They do have one, I won't even call it a live lesson, but they do have a check-in every morning now, but it's only like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The teacher will gather them all together. They do a prayer in the morning. She'll talk about the work that's expected of them for that day. But then it's still up to us to go through the work that's set on the forum that the school uses and then deliver that each day. So there's a bit more structure this time, but it is still heavily down to you as a parent to make sure you're delivering that and putting it out there.
Yeah. And Chinye, what do you
have? The primary school, they've got, I think they're a lot more organized. They have both of them have 3 live lessons. Why are you laughing?
Hi,
I am back. I had to swap my device. Sorry. My internet is very
that's why I was laughing.
Right. They've got, in the primary school, they've got 3 live lessons a day. So they're at the same time every day. So AJ knows what time his 3 live lessons are. And each lesson is half an hour. After each lesson, they set work. Then they have, because they use Google Classroom, then they have deadline dates.
Yeah.
So that one, we're kind of working with that. They even have PE. PE, my heart's in my mouth half the time because the way they're jumping, it's...
But they're doing PE.
They do PE online. So they enjoy that. Giselle, on the other hand, it's like Jessica's. They have live lessons. So her timetable is literally what she has.
Yeah.
So from 9:30 till whatever time, she's up there, the teacher's delivering the lesson. I go in there, you can hear the teacher talking, they're taking notes or doing whatever. When they have the same breaks like they have at school, they have lunch like they have at school, and then she finishes at 3:30 like she does at school. The only difference is that it's like she's in a whatever house clothes with the blanket around her, because the teachers, they can't see what they look like.
Well, funny you say that, because with Jessica's school, the first lockdown, they didn't switch on cameras. So
wait, sorry,
Jessica
I'm laughing.
sometimes in bed, she'll
find kids
in her room in bed. So I think the school they kind of got an indication that was what was happening. A lot of the girls were still in bed when they were doing their lessons, even the way they were sounding. Wasn't so. By the second lockdown, the first communication we got from them was, okay, we want the girls fully dressed, we want them seated, and we want their cameras on.
Yeah,
literally, that was their instructions. You know, and to be honest, it's a relief for me because I don't have to do anything. All I do is, Jess, time to get up. Jess, and then the rest of the day, she follows
Yeah.
it herself, you know. And then Jacob pretty much does the same as well. Does the same.
For me, with Sarai, when we first went into this lockdown, she was doing the homeschooling, which I was watching, and it's the same as yours, Chinye, where they wake up, they have the registered tutor group, the lessons are the same, live lessons by Google Meet, all her lessons are live. So the teachers come online, deliver the lessons. But what happened was Sarai's an only child, was getting really frustrated with being at home, especially where I'm a key worker going into work.
Our host is
Her dad-
frozen.
Am I frozen?
No.
No? Okay.
No?
Her dad's a key worker, so he also would go to work. So she really wanted to go to school. So we decided that, you know what, let her go. Because it's the fear of, I know we all have that fear of what we're bringing back, but I'm out there going to work. I'll bring something back. Femi's out there going to work. He might bring something back. So why are we caging her when we're also putting her at risk? So she might as well go doing the same live lessons. So it's not that they're doing any additional learning with them, but they're doing the same live lessons. Shewa, how's it been for you with this lockdown?
With this one, it's been different because the first one I was still working throughout, so Esme was at home. But because I started uni in September as well, so what I found was when they started this one, on the first day, she started at 9. I started my uni at 9 as well. And I found that for the first hour, I couldn't even do my uni because I was sat next to her, helping her with her stuff.
Yeah.
Only for her to turn around and tell me later on during the day that I didn't need to stay with her for that long. She didn't need that much help from me. That's when I decided that, you know what, you're going back to school from tomorrow. So I called my uni. They gave me a key worker because I'm currently a student nurse. So they gave me a key worker note. I sent it straight to the school on the same day. And she was back in school the very, very next day, back in school.
Okay. So
Easy
she's been
life,
going
no
key worker
wala
school.
anymore.
She's been going into the key worker
best
school.
decision ever, the best.
And Tinu, what about you? How's it with Farah with this lockdown? Has the school changed? Because they sent work for her before. What are they doing
It's been
differently
good.
now?
This lockdown has been good for her in the sense that she's kind of like, the only problem I have with Farah is like, normally I tell her that, Farah, you need to do like just like how you are at school. You wake up in the morning, you have a shower before you go to school. But now she wake up just like 20 minutes before they log on.
Oh, welcome to our world.
20 minutes, Sarai would roll out of bed and just say, Mommy, where's the laptop? It's there on her lap.
She literally rolls out of bed and
She literally wakes up, wrap herself in blankets now, and sit in front of the computer.
Yeah,
She does.
that's what she does.
Mm.
And wraps herself in the blanket and sits in front of her laptop and logs on.
She doesn't even use the laptop anymore. She uses the desktop now. So
It's more comfortable.
let me tell you what Isabella did today. So her teacher rang me, and it was like they're checking in just to make sure everyone's all right. So she said, I'm just trying to catch up with you just to see how she's getting on. I said, oh, she's all right. She said, yeah, I watched her do her skincare routine this morning. I was like, oh my God. What did she do? She was giving herself a facial while the thing was on.
Cameras on.
She has a better skincare routine than I do. But these are the things they do. She sits there on her bed. They use the iPad. She had the iPad on. Isabella, I don't worry so much about her. Even the teacher wasn't worried because when they ask her questions, she answers. She takes part in everything. But my girl was, and they record this. I was like, so I said to Izzy, what were you doing? Oh, I was greasing my face. But, I'm not worried about the older ones. I find it's the younger ones. So for me, AJ is I'm sending him to school. He's going to go to school because he's asking a lot now and saying, why is that person at school? Why can't I go to school? And right now, I just think I know there's the possibility of him bringing it home.
Skills and for his well-being, because at the moment he's reaching out, falling out, isn't he?
Yeah, he just wants to, because the way, like Dionne was saying, IJ jumping on sofas, I keep threatening him, I don't want to go to the hospital. Because, and I'll say to him, if I have to take you, I can't stay with you because they only allow just the patients, not anybody else. All of that goes over his head. He said he's doing parkour. So he jumped far onto whatever else, rolls under. So we tried leaving him to try and get on with his own work with the teacher. Within 5 minutes, he was under the table. So the Zoom thing's going on. Where's AJ? AJ's under the table with Lego. So we were like, that's it. He's got to go into school now. So I've spoken to the teacher. He's going to go into school.
We sent out a thing to our parents.
She said she learns better in school anyway, that she prefers going to school. That's all the feedback she gives me every day.
I think all children will be the same. I think there's something about being in the institute that they all sort of will learn better. Even us adults, when we go to work, we work better than when we do. Although some people are more, they get a lot more done when they're at home, depending. But I think we're more suited to go into the office. But I know that schools have sent out what they're giving out as remote learning. And for my school, what we've done is I do live lessons all day with primary children. So they register, my camera is either switched off, but I'm still on if they need help. And what we also do, their maths is done via White Rose. English is teacher-led. Any other foundation subject is teacher-led. And the children are active and we leave their cameras on. Their cameras is not allowed to be switched off unless it's break time or lunchtime. So they leave the cameras on, but they're muted. And that's through the day. But I think that probably works for us because we're a school that's building to being a Google school, and we had Google in place from the first lockdown, whereas some schools didn't know how they were going to facilitate us going into lockdown. But I say, as a whole, I can see from my beautiful sisters here that the second lockdown, or third, the one that included the schools are a bit more prepared than they were from the first one. And if a school was not prepared, then do any of you have anything negative to say that you think, just one little thing you think the schools could do to improve, or are we thinking it's something that we can, or
we
you
better not complain so that the school don't write us a letter to come and apply for the job of the teacher. Quiet.
Oh, that was the most perfect. It was well written, very well written.
Even the UCAS internet link on there.
Web link. Yeah, you can.
The web link.
Very well written. Just gave praise for everything, and they said, you know what? Attack my teachers. Oh yeah, you gotta get your degree. Come on, come back. Come and do it. I thought that was a fantastic letter.
No, it is an unusual period of our lives. This is one of those times in history that when we're telling our children's children, they wouldn't believe that it happened. You know, and it's the time where if we all reflect on it, it's like when people talk about the Spanish flu or the World War II or whatever, and they refer back to when you kind of try to imagine what it's like. It's kind of something on that same level as well.
Yeah. Does anybody have any final words they want to say before I round up? No? Sewa, are you here?
How much longer is this going to go on for?
March the 8th for now.
They
but
said,
that's only for a review.
We had
half term in our sites. February half term was like
what I heard was July. Is gonna start, maybe probably end in July.
No,
so
I think
that Jacob doesn't have a year 8 at all.
I think no, but they're going to try and get children back. But children back is going to be key year groups. So I think this is my thoughts on it. Just like they did in the summer where year 6s went back, and there's key year groups that they'll bring back in bits. Only because it's going to be a long time. But I think by Easter, they just need to vaccinate a bit more. I think by Easter, they're going to start bringing children back. Because the government know education is vital. As much as the schools are doing really well, it's still, the kids are not fully getting, it's the feedback. They can get the work, but if they're not getting the feedback, they don't know whether they're doing it right, whether they're improving.
Exactly.
That's the only issue. You can give them all the work, but who's going over it? Who's making sure that they're not making mistakes? And the more mistakes they make, the worse off they're going to be getting. So we need somebody to correct that, but we don't know. March 8th is what they say, but it's what they say.
I've always thought Easter as well. I think it's going to be a bit longer, but I can't wait. I think I found this lockdown harder than the first one.
Did
but
you?
I think it's because I've got a little one, and so she's a lot more mobile and active. Whereas during the first one, she was still a bit babyish. She would nap more. I tell you, I'd be in meetings and I'd be breastfeeding, and no one would know because she's woken up making noise. I'm telling you, I had all kinds of madness going on in my house. I'll be in meetings and I'm breastfeeding, and no one knows what's going on. I'm trying to have a meeting, but I can't. I can't contain her the same. So I found a lot harder with just at the stages that they're at.
But
so I can't wait.
Have you noticed now that workplaces are more lenient in regards to let her be free? If she runs in, if she makes noise, What else can you do?
Mine know all the staff members, so they come in and they're like, Mum, and they come in and go, Mum, and I'm like, yeah, just come in. So they come in and they're like, hi, whoever it is, hello, yeah, okay, what are you doing? Okay, yeah, all right, bye. We've stopped all of that.
I'm in a meeting, go away.
There are certain meetings where I'm like, okay, we need to let this, but if it's like just my own team, then it's fine. But when we're having meetings with external people, I usually tell Alistair anyway, I'm in a meeting, so at least he can keep them out. But it's not as serious as we tried to make it the first time round anyway.
It's because the workplace is sort of blended into the household. I had a meeting today. The other teacher, she brought her cat. Her daughter's there posing. Sarai's walking in. She's like, yeah. It was between the two of us, we're like, we're getting it done, but the meeting just has to continue. The kids are around. There's nothing we can do. There is absolutely nothing we can do.
Why are you not sleeping?
But I think we've come a long way. If we think back from where it was in March to the way our children they've taken on board this home learning. They've taken on board this whole pandemic and gotten used to it. We even had our Nike challenge where the Moltons, they rose to the challenge.
Out now. None of them want to go for walks anymore.
Yeah, I didn't.
None of them.
They rose to the challenge. And see something where the guy injured herself because she worked out too much.
No,
Dionne, I'm still feeling the pain. I'm still on tramadol.
You don't work that much before you don't want to go and do overtime or working.
But one thing we can say is, as much as we're thinking to ourselves that our children have gaps, they probably do, but they will catch up. But they have gaps in their learning. They have learned skills. They've learned things like, come on, we wouldn't have been able to get them to walk the way they've walked. We wouldn't have get them to sit down and do art lessons, or even to sit with us and play family quiz. Come on, we're the oldies. For them to sit down and be excited about that. And some of them created the quiz. I was impressed with Farah's to sit there. She had us challenged. And this is what, an 11-year-old getting us challenged in regards to a quiz. So these kids are learning other skills that they could use once they finish school, which is really good for them. So I think as much as we're probably all, I can imagine we're all going to get tutors as they get older. We're probably going to get them tutored up. I can see it in the faces. Because we
probably going to, or we are already
tutored up. Because we don't want those gaps, but the children are enjoying this. This is something that they will be able to talk about.
I think we're quite lucky. Sorry, Waka, that I cut you, but it's just the thought came to my mind that we're quite lucky that we have each other, because there are some families that don't have, there are some families that it's just them and the children, no one else. I can't imagine how hard it would have been for them. There are single parents. Can't imagine how hard this period would be for them. You know,
we were laughing about, like Shewa's internet going. On the news the other day, there was a lady that was talking about the fact that just before the lockdown, she couldn't afford to pay for the highest broadband service. So she reduced it. All of this happened now, and all the kids have to go on. So now they're wanting her to pay to get the broadband at a decent standard, so all the kids can access whatever they need to access. So we found out there are now more services to help people. Like I was saying to sister,
they're giving broadband.
They're giving one for laptops. If you've got old laptops that you don't need anymore, you can find somewhere in your local area, drop the laptop, and they can try and refurbish it and then give it to a family.
Okay. I didn't know of that. I didn't know of that.
And also, some of the schools are helping to, like Jacob School sent us a note to say that, look, you know, if you've run out of pens,
data.
Things, even the data, they put a note through to say, you know, if you need help with your broadband, they even talked about the equipment as well, but also the resources, papers, pens, notebooks, that they've got some that you can come and get, you know. So the schools are helping. They are trying. They're trying.
Bearing in mind the situation they're in, I think they're doing really well with the situation that they're having to be in. It's a balance between us, the schools, the government, and this virus. I think it's just trying to get the best out of it all. But I think I'm going to wrap it up there. There's no need for me to summarize. We all know we've done the first pandemic or the first lockdown. We've accomplished the second one. We're currently in the third one. The children are sort of the home chronicles. There's still stories to be told in regards to, we are still trying to balance, ensure that they get the learning done, we can still work, we can still sort of do our shopping, get everything we need in the house, praying that none of us become positive where we can't leave the house. So it's just working together on that. But I'm going to say thank you for listening in to According to Dee. If you can please hit that button and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you soon on the next talk. Thank you, beautiful ladies.
Thank you.
Aren't my sisters all beautiful? Bye.
Bye.
Bye.